Now we want to add a lot more functionality to our game, and I want to make sure that we can do that without really messing with your levels so that you can start doing some level design and building things when you're getting some spare time and having fun, but still experiment with and have a place to build out our new things. This is exactly what we do in a normal AAA environment. We have some sort of development environment set up where our designers and code teams can go play around with things and make their own stuff. In just about every game I've ever worked on, there are special levels set up for the designers to do exactly that. Sometimes each designer will have their own level, and some MMOs, some designers have their own zones where they just build out all their own stuff, and sometimes it's just a shared one. In this case, we're just going to build a sandbox where we can experiment, build things, put things together, and try out our stuff without modifying levels and without having to put things into our existing levels. So we're going to start by just taking level 1 and duplicating it or saving it off as a sandbox level and then building upon that. So we'll go into level 1. I've just double clicked and opened it up. We'll go File, Save As, and I want to make sure that I'm in my Scenes folder, and I'm going to call this Sandbox with a capital S and a lowercase b, just all one word. Now I want to clear this out a little bit. There's a lot of stuff in here that I don't want to have just by default. I want to start it off with just platforms because that's what I'm going to work on. So I'm going to find the flag, the spikes, delete all of those. I do want to keep my player input manager. I don't need these coins, so I'm going to delete them. And the same with the springs. I don't need those either. I'm going to go down to my environment. I do want to keep most of the environment, primarily the platforms. So that's the part that I care about. So I'm going to make a new subfolder here, or a new folder in my root, which is just an empty game object. And I'm going to call this platforms. I'll right click on the transform and reset it so that it's all zeroed out. And I'm just going to take the platforms, one of each. So I've got a 2, a 4, a 6, and a 5, and I'm going to drag them onto my platforms object. I'm going to right click, or actually let's go over to the transform. We'll right click and reset their positions and transforms and all that. So we'll right click and reset their transform essentially. And then we're going to go to the position Y, and I'm going to use a special function. So with all of these selected, I'm going to put L and then an open parentheses, and I'm going to put a, let's start with 0 and then a comma and a 10. What this is going to do is linearly split them out or space them so that they're from 0 to 10 meters up. Now, if I look at the position here, I see that that's actually giving me some kind of odd numbers. I'm getting like 0.33, 0.66, and 0 and 10, which is what I should expect, but that's not really what I want because I want these to be more rounded numbers. So instead, I'm going to do it again, but this time I'll pick a number that's divisible by 4. So I'll go maybe 0 to 12. So do L 0, 12, and now I should get nice whole numbers. So I've got a 12, a 4, an 8, and a 0. And now that's nicely lined up, and I should be able to jump up those, but let's make it so that they're split off to the right as well. So select them all. And for the X position, we'll do an L, and we'll just go 0, and let's do maybe 12 again. There we go. Now I've got some split out little platforms that I should be able to jump up. Let's save our sandbox scene. I want to press play. Just make sure that everything is working before we add any new functionality. Make sure that we don't have any errors, nothing's popping up in the console, just this serialized thing, we can ignore that. But no regular errors, I can jump up, and I can make it up onto my platforms and kind of test these all out. So now I've got a spot where I can test out all of my different platforms. Let's stop playing and create the new platform that I want to make. Actually, let's commit our sandbox level first, and then we'll do it in the next section. So I'll go into plastic and say that we added a new sandbox level for experimenting and testing. And we'll check that in.